Well, hello and good morning. This is John Decker, the Director of Community Services at Alta California Regional Center. Today is Friday, August 19th. It is 11:03 a.m. We've got 47 folks on so far right now. And as per usual, we'll introduce some of the staff that we have. But first and foremost, I also want to let folks know that this is being recorded, and it is being recorded as well to share with a conference that is happening next week. The Six Beds Group, which is a group of residential service providers, are having their annual conference, and this is going to be part of my taped message to that group as well, giving an update on what's going on with the regional centers right now. So to get started quickly, I am going to introduce the staff that we have from Alta California Regional Center that are on here. So I'll start with my assistant, Zach, who is on. So good morning, Zach. And I see Client Services Manager Carol Wilhelm that is on this morning too. Good morning. And our Clinical Director, Clinical and Intake Director, Camelia is on. Good morning, Camelia. And our Associate Client Services Director, Tracy Brown, is on here too. And we've got some community services specialists. We've got Kelsey and Christina that have joined. So I can do more introductions later, but I want to jump into our topic, which I want to start off by going over the alternative services and the end of alternative services and some plans with the regional centers. We certainly believe at Alta that early planning is going to be the best way for us to be able to have a transition to our service system back to the types of services that we had previously. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go over a document that we've been talking about in this meeting and in other meetings. And we're also using it to share publicly with our clients and families as well. One of the promises that the regional center made was that as we develop steps to move our system back to the traditional service system, that we would be very transparent with our service providers about what the expectations for our service coordinators are, and also are going to be very transparent with our clients and families as well. So I'm going to share again these materials right now. And again, these are things that folks may be familiar with and want to quickly go through and talk about some changes that we foresee are going to be upcoming here. I will say, this applies to Alta California Regional Center, but certainly the entire service system is impacted by the change from alternative services. And so just want to start here. I'm hoping folks can see what looks like a big infographic on the side there that says transitioning from COVID-19 state of emergency services. So first and foremost, the state budget ends alternative services, and that's going to be effective 12/31/22. Those non-residential service providers that are offering those alternative services will no longer be able to do so once the calendar year begins January 1. We currently have a transportation problem, and I know that this is a problem that's going on throughout the state of California, where we cannot rebuild the transportation routes because few of the day programs are at a 5-day-a-week service in person for their clients. As a result, the transportation requests are having either we're not able to fill them or it's taking an extremely long time to get transportation started for individuals. Additionally, at Alta California Regional Center, we have 4,000 clients that are utilizing alternative services. That's a lot of individuals that are going to be looking for some alternatives. And if we do not have a robust assessment that is done as early as possible, it's going to be very hard for us to determine what the needs are of those 4,000 individuals. So we have made a determination at our regional center to request our service coordinators to reach out to their clients that are receiving alternative services by October 14th of 2022 for the purposes of developing an IPP addendum that outlines the services that are going to replace the alternative services that are going on now. So for example, if a client that's living in a residential care facility has a transportation provider that might be bringing out packets of information or maybe taking them on trips out into the community, those types of vendorizations will go away, those alternative services. And so how are we going to replace those activities which we have all been saying are necessary for individuals with developmental disabilities, how are we going to, in essence, replace those activities? It will be extremely challenging for us to do that if we do not have an accounting or an understanding of what is going on with our service providers. Many service providers waited until the rate study implementation occurred to really look at what the future of their congregate day program type of services will look like. At our regional center, we're beginning to receive feedback, met with staff, and listened to the ideas of some service providers that are looking at changing their service delivery. To that end, we are putting out a survey, and I'm going to go over the survey questions with you all so everyone understands why we're doing it and what we're doing it for. We'll be putting out a survey as well to our service providers as it relates to alternative services. We're going to be putting a survey out widely to all of our service providers, also because we want to ensure that every service provider is aware of what is going on. So when we send out the following survey that I'm going to show you, we will also be sending out this infographic as well that describes why we feel like it's so important that we get these IPP addendum meetings scheduled and that we have really as solid as possible information from non-residential service providers on what their plans are for the future of their services. So I am going to drop into the chat box right now for this meeting this infographic, and then I am going to share the survey information as well. So in the chat is a copy of the infographic, and that will be sent out to all service providers along with this survey right here. And I'm going to see if I can make this a little bit larger for folks, and I'm going to share my screen. So let's see. Zach, are we seeing the survey? Excellent, thank you. All right, so survey. No, perfect. I saw the head nod. It was perfect. Survey for service providers. So ACRC has approximately 4,000 clients receiving alternative services. As alternative non-residential service billing is ending, client planning teams need information regarding any proposed closures or changes to service provision. Please complete this survey. And then in here, we have also included links that describes some of the changes. So for example, there's a direct link on the survey that you will be able to click on. And when you do, it will bring you to the exact area in the budget where it describes that the alternative services billing ends on December 31st of 2022. Again, we wanted to ensure that you as service providers have all the tools. Whoops. And then the other one that we have is the descriptions related to tailored day service. And you will notice, because one of the questions that we ask folks is, are you looking at adding a tailored day service? So there's two sections of information. This is some narrative information related to the changes that are made for tailored day services. So for example, the ability to be able to utilize it in conjunction with a standard day program, the standardization of billing rates is outlined in here, as well as, and again, looking at the amount of service as well. So that information is in here. And then additionally, if you click on the second link under tailored day services, this takes you to the actual language change in statute. Yes, because this is the Welfare Institutions Code. So it shows you the actual change in the law related to it, and vouchered services as well. So again, we wanted to have a one-stop shop where it was very clear to service providers where they can gather the information to kind of help answer their questions. So you type in your email there, John Decker. And again, the final, exactly kind of the layout, we're kind of playing with it, but these are the questions that will be in there. What's your vendor number? What's the name of your transportation company? John, or your service provider name. I chose to be John's Transportation Company. And name of individual completing the survey. There's my name. And then the first question, once alternative non-residential services billing ends on December 31st, 2022, are you planning on closing or modifying your non-residential service? Closing or modifying. If you answer no to this, or let's say you don't do alternative services, you don't need to fill out the survey. We're not really necessarily that interested in that. We really want to know, who's contemplating it right now? Who's contemplating these things? Are you planning on closing? Yes or no? Are you planning on modifying your residential services? Yes or no? Oh, sorry, I just realized, Zach, if I'm planning on closing, yes. Have you provided a 60-day closure notice to your community services specialist? Within the questions that we're asking, we hope we are prompting folks to remember what it says in regulations about informing us about things like a closure of your program, especially if you're planning on closing something and still remaining open as a company. A 2-week notice does not work for the regional center. We will certainly hold service providers accountable to giving us that full time period so that we can plan for transition. So have you provided it? Yes, I already have. Are you planning on modifying your non-residential services? If it's no, well, then it's no. But if it's yes, have you contacted your community services specialist? Yes or no? Are you interested in adding a tailored day service as the rates and amount of service allowed has also changed? Yes or no? And that's it, folks. That is the totality of the survey that we are looking at putting out right now. We did not include a box for you to write in what your proposed changes are or anything, because we need you to contact your community services specialist and let them know that. With this survey that we're able to put out, we will be able to share the data with our case management units so they are aware of what's going on. And then also our community services specialists will have the ability to organize their work as they work collaboratively with you as service providers to either modify or hopefully not end up closing your program. Because when we have program closures, we end up having to work really closely with our case management staff to ensure that we've got alternatives that have been identified. Let's see, I have a question on the side there. This survey is not for transportation providers, correct? It is absolutely for transportation providers if you're offering alternative services. If you are providing alternative services, we want you to fill out this survey. We're going to send the survey out to everyone. I'm just telling you 67 folks that logged in this morning to get an update from the regional center on what's going on, that if you're not providing those alternative services, don't worry about it. You won't need to worry about that. But again, we're hoping that this gives us a head start on working with vendors and to ensure that we've got services that are available for folks when it goes away. So there is that information. I know that we've repeated it multiple times. And then let's see, is TDS still vendored as a subcode? And if we already have one attached to one program, can we do a different one attached to a different program? So I'm going to hold on to that question for a little bit because I want to touch on, because I know we want to talk about tailored day services, but I also want to touch real quickly on some other information that I feel like is important for residential providers. And since this is still information that I'm planning on sending over to the 6 Beds conference that's going on next week, I do want to touch on the new SANDA data fields for medication errors. So we're going to be working on operationalizing this, but for service providers, it's very important for you to be aware that we are now required when we transmit our, our special incident reports to the Department of Developmental Services to figure out this information. And any of you that run residential care know exactly what these are, the types of medication errors: missed dose, wrong medication, wrong person, wrong time, wrong route, and documentation error. Many of you are aware that we have such a huge amount of medication error special incident reports that come into the regional center. And so the Department of Developmental Services really wants to look at what kinds of things are the medication errors. And so this allows us to provide better data to the department and for us when it looks at tracking these medications errors and types. So we are going to be operationalizing this. Jordan Eller, who has joined us, our community services manager, supervises the staff that work with SANDIS, and so specifically related to the special incident reports. And there is some trainings that are going to be upcoming as well, specifically related to this for regional centers. But for you all as service providers, and again, specifically for the residential service providers that are logged in from the 6 Beds conference, This information is, I think, very helpful for you just right up front so that you know if you turn in a special incident report and it's unclear as to what type of medication error it may have been, you might get reached back out to by the regional center for clarification. So again, we're going to be folding this into our trainings that we provide to our service providers. When we do our special incident report training, we'll be folding it into the trainings that we provide to our staff. But again, because this is going to go online on September 1st, and then a little bit more on October 1st, we want to ensure that folks have a heads up about it. All right. So with that being said, I'm actually going to say goodbye to the group of folks that have logged in for the 6Beds annual conference and wish that folks have a great rest of their conference.